And a question about following up from what we learned about Saturday's game with Justin Hilliard and his false tests in the morning. As you prepare now moving forward for game days, has that shaped, have you maybe been able to learn a few lessons from that, how you might develop those rosters home and away, obviously this week being a home game? How did that experience basically shape your planning moving forward?
Not much, because we kind of planned on something like this happening. Not that we wanted it to, but that's why I mentioned last week going into it that we had to make sure we had enough people at each spot. So a pair and a spare was the best way to put it. We're allowed 74 on the road. We got a little bit more flexibility at home in terms of who can dress. So that allows us a little bit more. But I also know the Big Ten's looking into this and trying to figure out a way for guys to test out of it before the game. And so hopefully by the end of the week here, there's a good solution.
All righty, we'll go next to Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch. Bill.
Hey, Ryan, can you give an assessment of how Master T and also Trey Sermon have played the first 2 weeks? Master was happier with his performance against Penn State than he was against Nebraska. What do you want to see from him? Maybe more elusiveness?
I don't think Master's that kind of back. I think the way that he ran on Saturday night is really his style. Downhill, powerful, keep us on schedule. You don't see a lot of negative plays. And that allows you to control the football game. And I thought that, he did a good job of that, turning 4-yard runs into 5-yard runs and 6-yard runs. And that's really good for us. And so I also think that has an effect on the defense. He's a big back, downhill. I think you start worrying about, making guys miss and everything like that. I don't know if that's his strength. I think his strength is getting downhill, playing fast and being physical. And I thought Trey ran better as well. So, I think it was an improvement, and we're always looking to get better. That's the mantra for everybody this week, find a way to get better.
That's right.
Next up, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports. Dave.
Thank you. Hi, Ryan. I want to ask you about the balance a coach has to walk in terms of getting your best players a lot of snaps during games. Guys like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, Tommy Togi, guys seem to be playing a lot of snaps this year. It's easy to see why. But just walking that balance of getting those guys a lot of snaps, but still keeping your guys fresh. So I imagine it's tempting to want to play your guys a lot of snaps. Is that a difficult balance to walk?
I mean, I think it's different this year because we didn't have the lead up to the season. So these guys really still haven't played a lot of football, so they got to play. But I also think we built depth, more than ever. And so we're going to play depth. We'll allow guys to play fresh. And so I think it's a little bit of both. I think guys have to play, but we're also going to play depth. We're going to allow guys to roll in there. And I think that helps us. I think it makes us stronger in the end. But guys need to play. This is only week 3 for us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go next to Austin Ward from Letterman Row. Austin.
Ryan, along those lines, I know that the first step is that a guy has to prove that he's game ready. And then maybe if he's a little bit further down the depth chart, a freshman or something, the game needs to go the way you ideally want it. But how much conversation is there during the week? Like, we would like to see this guy or this young freshman, what they can do now. Like, how much does that enter a coaching staff's thoughts going up to Saturday?
Not really a lot. Anytime you go into a game, you're just trying to win the game, and that's the focus. And then, like you said, you try to get an idea in terms of a depth chart. You'll go through and say, okay, is this guy game ready? If he is, and the moment is right for whatever reason, injury or something happens, you feel good about putting him in the game. And then there's certain guys you would like to see get in the game. You'd like to see him get some touches on the perimeter. You'd like to see him get some snaps in the secondary. And there's times where the game dictates that, and there's other times where the game doesn't. But you kind of have an idea of when and who those guys are going into the game. You just try to adapt as it goes on. Because, these games can go a million different directions. So you just try to adapt. But like you said, we try to identify who those guys are that should have an opportunity to play, and you go from there.
Next up, Dan Hope from 11 Warriors. Dan.
Hey, Ryan. Harry Miller was talking a lot yesterday about some of the things he likes to do off the field, and obviously he's having success on the field. How much does it impress you as a coach when you have a guy who's performing the way he is on the field while also being so well-versed?
Yeah, he's a guy who's even from, when we recruited him in high school, he had a lot of different interests and passions, and, he can kind of handle that. He can multitask. Some guys, they really need to stay focused on academics and football, but Harry's a guy who has a lot of different interests, and so it's been great. It's something that we certainly support. He has his mission trips that he does down to Nicaragua in the off season. He's kind of a man of many talents and interests, and so I'm just happy that he's been able to find a rhythm, especially in last week's game. I thought he played strong, played well, and so that really built up his confidence, and hopefully now he can really take off and have a great season.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, we'll go next to Nathan Barrett, Cleveland.com. Nathan.
Hey, Ryan, how did your experience in the NFL, if at all, affect the way that you want to use a tight end in the offense? And where is Jeremy Ruckert compared to, I guess, what kind of your ideal is for that position?
I think Luke and Jeremy both played well in that game. I think they blocked well. They weren't perfect, but they came off and they had a physicality to them. They also made some plays in the pass game. We asked them to do a lot. We asked them to block in the interior. We asked them to block in the perimeter. We asked them to pass block. We asked them to run routes. So they have to be the most versatile guys, but that allows you to do more things on offense. I thought the blocking on the first play was excellent on the perimeter, and they had a big part of that, creating big plays. And so anytime you can be versatile with the things you can attack by having versatility like tight ends it's huge. And you see that at all levels. You see that in the NFL. You see that in college. And again, the number one job of a college football coach is to figure out where his personnel is at, and kind of change it year in and year out. And right now we think that this is something that gives us an opportunity to attack defenses. And as long as these guys keep playing at a high level, we'll continue to try to come up with plays that we think make sense.
All right, next up, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch. Joey.
Ryan, the timing between Chris Olave and Justin Fields, a pair that maybe is like in midseason form, not somebody who's played just one or two games. Why do you think their chemistry's been, I guess, so good so early in the season, and what did you see from them this offseason to build that?
Well, I saw two guys who are very hungry. I know that the way that last season ended really bothered the two of them, especially that last play. So they were hungry, both of them. And they spent a lot of time in the off season throwing and, like you said, getting their rhythm down, their timing down. And so they're off to a good start, but they got to keep going on it, keep building on it. Still a lot of things to improve, a lot of stuff to clean up in a lot of areas. But they're both hungry. They both, have their eyes on the prize here, and got to keep bringing it every week. But they are off to a good start. And they made some big time throws and catches in that game that was the difference.
All right, we'll go next to Tim May from Letterman Row. Tim.
Thank you very much, Mike. Ryan, Brendan White was the defensive MVP of the Rose Bowl January 1, 2019. Obviously, he opted to leave. What are you seeing from him on video the first two games? It looks like he's turned into a playmaker for them. And what do you remember about his exit? Was it on good terms?
Yeah, it was. It was just one of those things where he felt like he needed a fresh start, and happy for him there. And Greg's done a good job of putting him in, good spots. He's playing that free safety position, and so yeah, I think what they're asking him to do is fits his skill set really really well, and he's gonna have a good career there. We always really love Brennan and wish him nothing but the best, and think he's got a lot of talent.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
We'll go next to Brendan Goulder, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated. Brendan.
Hey, Coach, toward the end of your conversation with Paul and Jim this afternoon, you talked about posture and some of the things that you're working on with Justin Fields when he stands in the pocket, having his head still, having good balance, things like that. I think back to the quick throw over the middle on the touchdown to Ruckert, and then also to the play where he was under a ton of pressure, but on your last scoring drive through the 25-yard completion to Garrett Wilson. Those two plays in particular stand out to me as plays where Justin was really poised. Are you seeing consistent examples this year where he's taken big strides from where he was last year with some of those little things you worked on with him?
I think so. Yeah, I think that that one you're talking about, throw to Garrett, was excellent because it was somebody breathing right down his neck. The hot throw to Jeremy was good. There was a couple other ones where he stood right in there and wasn't hopping around. He stayed strong in the pocket. and that really helps with accuracy. And so it's something that we spend a lot of time talking about, and it's not perfect, but he's certainly getting better, and it allows him to be more accurate.
And next up, Tony Gerdeman, Buckeye Scoop. Tony.
Ryan, what was the Big Ten's justification for not allowing a player to play because of a false positive, but allowing him to be on the sideline?
Yeah, so he took the antigen test and then followed that up by a PCR. PCR then confirmed that he was negative, and it was a false positive in the morning test. One was an antigen, the other was a PCR. But the way that it was explained to me was that not every school has the opportunity and location has the opportunity to get that PCR in that short of a time. And so they want to make sure that it was equal across the board. I know it's something that they're looking at now to try to figure out if, in fact, they can get everybody that PCR to confirm whether it's a positive or a negative, which would allow them to play. And it's something that everybody had to agree upon in order to get the season started. So obviously not ideal or perfect, but I know they're working on it to try to make it better.
So he couldn't play because other schools same capability, basically?
I mean, it was an agreement on the front end that everybody had to agree to, yeah. So,
thank you.
All right, we'll go next to Stephen Means from Cleveland.com. Stephen.
Hey, Ryan. As a guy who's been coaching quarterbacks for a while, are there pros and cons to a quarterback maybe having a favorite target?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the pros are that he's comfortable, the timing, and he feels confident. I guess a negative would be if he's going there too often. But we don't really pick out, who we're throwing the ball to, unless it's a flat out man-to-man coverage. We're trying to find the best matchup. Typically for us, we're going, it's man zone, it's 1 high, 2 high, it's progression, it's an object receiver. We have different types of reads, but we usually don't pick out a guy. That's usually not how we read it out. Now we'll typically put guys in the right situation to expect the ball based on what we're getting for coverage. So that doesn't usually happen in our offense, but we try to put the guys in the best position to be successful, if that makes sense.
And then just
and last question for today, we'll go to Jeremy Birmingham from Letterman Row. Jeremy.
Hey, Ryan, about a month ago, you said that the NCAA process for the eligibility and all that stuff was still trying to be figured out by you and Mark Pantoni and those guys, and that it was very confusing. A month later, with 50 days or so till signing day, have you gained any sort of clarity? And if so, how is that affecting what you guys do in this final push to signing day?
Eligibility for the guys right now, like currently on the team, you're asking?
Well, just that and how it relates to, the potential numbers with the class.
Yeah, as we project it out, we actually don't think that we'll be over 85 next fall with guys moving on to the NFL, with different guys graduating. So I think we're going to be in a good place. I think we got a good handle on it. And, there's a little bit of, like you said, some unknown there based on, some guys may try to come back, some guys may not. So that's a little bit unperfect, but I think that for the most part, we have a good handle on it. I don't think we'll be much over 85 going into the fall. Could be wrong, but that's what we're planning and forecasting out.
Thanks.
All right, Coach Day, thank you. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you after the game.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to click on that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing, and come visit us over at BuckeyeGrove.com for all the best Ohio State information on the web.